Word. And then Nelly, go ahead and hello, hello, hello. Hi, everyone in the audience. And then make sure to turn off your mic if it's not used. So my name is Andres. And if you want to turn off the waiting room sound and turn off the waiting room. Or do you want me to do it? Okay. So give one second. And then do that. And then turn off waiting room. There we go. All right, sorry about that. So hello everyone, my name is Andres. I use he, him pronouns. I am the J peer here for the J School. So I am one of the students that works with the admissions department just to make sure that things are running, answering questions. And it really is my goal to be a resource for anyone that's looking to apply here to Cal's journalism school. On today's panel and on today's version of the Faces of the J School, we have our esteemed panelists here right next to me, as well as Daniela, who is virtually joining us. We're just here to answer any questions, but I'll be moderating slightly. The main goal of this session today is to answer questions centered around the Black student experience, the Latinx student experience, and what it's kind of like to be students from these communities here at the J School, as well as what their application journey has kind of been like. So to kick it off, I'm also participating as a moderator, so I'll do a quick introduction for myself. So like I said, my name is Andres. I'm from Fontana, California, so I'm a California student who came from Berkeley as an undergrad, so yay, double bear. But on top of that, I am in the multimedia track. I am specifically doing data journalism and looking into a lot of the infrastructure projects in travel and transportation. But that's not necessarily what everyone has to choose. You have a lot of ability to wiggle through there. And yeah, I'm excited to just give my own perspective. If we want to go ahead and go over to Edith.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Edith. I'm from the UK, so I'm from Cornwall, which is like this countryside area of the UK. And I'm doing the multimedia track as well here. And I'm covering housing and homelessness for Richmond Confidential, which is, as Andreas was saying, like that's my beat, which is exciting, but there's lots of different ones to choose from. I originally came to Berkeley like 2 years ago because I did my study abroad here for a year. And then I stayed to do like an internship, and then I ended up applying for the J School. So now I'm here for 2 more years, which is good.
Hi everyone, my name is Daniel Ikonde. I'm from Cameroon. Cameroon is in West Africa, and I'm taking master's program here in journalism with concentration in narrative writing. But this fall semester, I'm taking multimedia. So in spring, I intend to fall back to narrative writing. And before coming here, I worked in radio, did text, then TV, which gave me the profile to apply for the J School in Berkeley. And I'm just looking forward to learning cutting edge technology reporting, especially in the international field. For this fall semester, I'm covering politics in Auckland. It's something new. Throughout, I've been doing a lot of sports reporting, so getting into politics is kind of a novelty, but it's exciting.
Hi guys, my name is Marquise. I'm from Oakland, California. I'm in the multimedia track like these guys over here. And my particular beat is I'm a sports reporter for our J200 news reporting class, and it's been slightly fun. It's also been a challenge. And yeah. Oh, and I use he, him pronouns as well. So
I just realized I booked all multimedia students. But we'll still be able to speak a lot about our experiences. Oh, and let's not actually forget our virtual panelist, Daniela, if you want to go ahead and speak.
Hi everyone, my name's Daniela, she, her pronouns. I'm also on the multimedia track, but I do have some radio experience. Let's see, I'm covering business and economy for Oakland North, and I'm from Guadalajara, Jalisco, but I grew up in the San Gabriel Valley and Inland Empire in Fontana. So yeah, just happy to be here and yeah.
All right, awesome. Thank you. So we're going to get started with a few questions, and I'll start off by asking, why did y'all choose to come to Berkeley? I know it's a very loaded question.
Right, thank you. So I did a Reuters training in 2020 when COVID-19 broke out. Reuters decided to enlighten them on how to report on the pandemic. And on that training, there was this lady from Nigeria, Anita Felix. I'm sure she's here. She graduated this year. And in 2022, she told me she was in the US. She was taking a master's program, and I asked. She said Berkeley. And I said, okay, it's good. I would like to apply at UC Berkeley because I was looking to take masters in the US. Since I started international correspondence in 2018, so I was just looking to polishing and get like an international license to foster my reporting globally. So I looked at UC Berkeley and started applying. When I did more research on Berkeley, I realized Berkeley had specialized tracks, narrative, documentary film, photojournalism. In my undergraduate studies in the University of Buea in Cameroon, we did something like this, but it was just a collective. They call it journalism and mass communication. So you're studying journalism, you're studying mass communication. At some point, you get confused whether you want to become a communication scholar or you want to become a journalist. Even when you want to become a journalist, there's not that focus to say, okay, you're going to become a TV journalist, a radio journalist. So it was just assembled in a way that it couldn't be clearer. So when I looked at the journalism program here in Berkeley, I really liked it. You know, from 2018, I've been learning how to write, and I was looking to really become a better writer. So when I saw the narrative track, I said, yeah, this is what I need, and that's how I applied here. I think I applied in 2022. I got the admission, but did not get the scholarship because I'm here on the MasterCard Foundation Scholars Program. So I did not get a scholarship in 2022. The school was lucky. Well, they were, how they say, they were understanding to push my program to 2024 when I finally got the MasterCard Foundation Scholars Program, and I'm here.
Awesome, thank you. Marquise, why did you choose to go to Berkeley?
Yeah, so last year I was in limbo. I graduated from my undergrad in 2021 and did a little freelance work doing like sports reporting and whatnot. And
where did you do your undergrad?
Yes, I did my undergrad in Atlanta, Georgia at Georgia State. And so from there, I graduated in December of 2021. It's kind of in limbo, didn't know what I wanted to do really, was bartending and serving. And it wasn't until I started having like a couple of conversations about like, what do you want to do in the future? What do you want to do with your life? And I was like, I don't know really. And they kind of wanted me to kind of like got my head thinking about like going into the master's program. And I was like, I really do want to go looking at master's program. Into Berkeley popped up, other schools popped up. And so, it was a perfect opportunity to come home, be able to and get my master's as well. So that's why I chose Berkeley. And it's one of the only fewer programs that have a 2 less, because other programs are like a year and a half as well. So
yeah, that's actually a great point. Daniel kind of already mentioned it, but Berkeley has 5 different tracks. We have the narrative track, multimedia, which all of us are, and then you have the photo track, audio track, and documentary track. And we can talk more about the specifics of each one. Just feel free to ask any of those questions. And then Marquise also mentioned that we have a 2-year program. So unlike us, we have 2 years. Each year is split up into semesters. And that's at least the belief of the school that you get a little bit more out of your education as you're working towards your master's Berkeley.
Yeah, I think doing a master's here wasn't really part of my plan at all. But I studied American literature, and yeah, and part of that experience was having a study, like doing a year study abroad in the States. And I was very intrigued by the Bay Area, but I'd never been to the States before, so I was kind of just going out on a whim. And I think when I first got here, I had a huge like culture shock kind of moment, and it took me a long time to come to terms with a lot of what was going on here and what kind of social problems and what that looked like here in comparison to home. And so for the first kind of couple months, I like really struggled. I was like, this place is crazy. What's going on? Why is everyone okay with it? And then after a while, I kind of got more into, instead of an analytical stance and think more about what was like why this is going on instead of just being like upset about it. And that kind of made me actually want to stay longer, because then by the time I kind of came to terms with what was happening here, I really just like enjoyed the community and everything that I built here, but also was like, I feel like I should stay just to honor like the progression that I've like gone through. So that's why I ended up doing like an online internship here. I was like associate editor for the National Book Review. I was also an arts and culture reporter for the Daily Californian, so that kind of got me into events. And I took a class here at the J School when I was on my study abroad, which was also arts and culture reporting, and kind of formed a good connection with the professor. And I was like, I have a place now, because it's taken a long time to try and understand the history and the politics and the people and things like that. And so yeah, he was like, you should just go for the masters, like, why not? And so I don't know, it feels really special to be studying journalism here, I think, because as I said, I just feel like very intrigued by the whole like Bay Area. I think it's such an interesting and important kind of part of the States. And so yeah, and also yeah, the fact that it's a 2-year program is great. I feel like 9 months would not have felt like enough. And then having the opportunity to do like multimedia studies and get more useful in a place that has like so many resources is so good. But yeah, none of this was the plan. I would like 2 more years.
Yeah, I did an extra semester after my senior year, and then I think in that semester I was like, I don't know what I want to do with my life, but it's not sociology. Daniela, if you want to go ahead and answer the question, why did you choose Berkeley?
Uh, so my story is long, but I'm gonna keep it short. I graduated in 2020 from UCLA with majors in Spanish community and culture and comparative literature, and it was right during the pandemic. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I kind of waited to apply for my master's 3 years. In the meantime, I did a lot of work in social media. I worked with Business Insider and Me Too, if anyone's familiar with that platform. I also pursued a certificate program at the UCLA Extension for Journalism and another one for radio on air broadcasting at Mount SAC. So all those experiences just I got to the point where I was like, I need to do something like to USC, UC Berkeley, and NYU. And I chose UC Berkeley because I just felt like the environment was a lot different in terms of in terms of the community aspect. I along with, can y'all hear me? No? Yeah?
We can hear you, but it's the echo.
It's echo.
I don't know if you want to put AirPods on. It might also just be the speakers in here, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so basically, I chose UC Berkeley because I, along with Marquisa and Andres, were a part of the Dean's Fellowship, and there's other fellowships that are also available to you all when you apply. But basically, we got a good good package, I'll just put it that way. And in comparison to private institutions that I applied to, like that was not offered to me. But other than that, I feel like, say, I have to echo the 2-year thing because a lot of the programs, like USC in particular, it was like 100K for 9 months. So I couldn't afford that. But yeah, that's a little bit of why I chose Berkeley.
Yeah, thank you for coming from UCLA to Berkeley. I appreciate that. But that's also another great point, is that the funding here at the university. So a few things that I want to establish is that the class of, or every year, there's more or less 55 applicants to our program. And it fluctuates between that number, plus or minus like 5-ish. But within the last few years, we received one of the largest donations for funding here at the J School for our students. And we really do encourage a lot of people to apply because the financial aid packages, as much as we want to give out and be equitable to as many people as possible, there's more opportunities to do so. The money also has some ties to it. So if you're a California student, for example, there's some ties and there's some money like put to the side. If you're a international student, there's not really too much opportunity within the J school to provide, but there's also like Daniel mentioned the MasterCard program for students who are eligible for it. If you're an out-of-state student, out of state from California, there's also options there. So just to be very transparent with it. To move on to the next question, I'm going to ask maybe like two people, or two people per community, I should kind of say it like that. This first question is, as a Black student, how has it been to be here in the Bay Area, be here at Berkeley? Like, what's your experience been like through the application process as well as finding a community here?
I'll go ahead and start. So, as a Black student here, as a Black man here, the community is very great. Like I said, I'm from California, from Oakland. I went to school here in Berkeley, and so it was, I've been away for like maybe 6 years, but coming back, it was like learning how to rewrite a bike again for me. And that's how I feel. But it's been nothing but like short of amazing here. Like a blessing, grateful. Those are the words that really come to my mind here. And going to school as a Black man, as a Black journalist here in the Bay Area for sure. And so I can't speak nothing but good thoughts about that for real.
How were you able to find your community, Marquise?
I kind of think my community came to me. That's the good thing. Like, when you apply and you get in, they have this thing called boot camp week, and that's kind of where I found myself gravitating towards all my classmates. It kind of breaks that shell that that we all come here with. Some of us are more shy than others. Some of us are more introverted. Some of us are more extroverted. It kind of just like blends in, and you kind of just like navigate it, and your community comes to you. And that's how it happened for me as well. So.
Thank you, Marquise. And just to be clear, the boot camp is not like the Marines.
It's definitely not that.
It's more along the lines of you get here and you start to get like a real quick understanding of how to start reporting on stories, gathering sources. And at least for us, it was a multimedia, but everyone in the class getting a quick rundown on how to use like basic software, basic like photo stuff. That way we can do a quick turnaround week story, as in like a week-long story. To then produce at the end of our orientation session at the beginning of the semester. Anyone else want to add on their thoughts? Go ahead.
So my perspective as an African, a Cameroonian here in Berkeley, in the US in general, is it's refreshing, especially the campus, this department, how it's structured, like the courtyard. You can just come here, you're working on your project, you can sit anywhere you work. And from the first day, the impression I got was everybody is open. You can walk up to somebody and they're willing to help you on a particular thing. And Berkeley in general, I'm really loving it, especially the sports infrastructure. It's true, our teams across the board are not doing well. I was watching the women's volleyball team the other day. They're not doing well. The American football team lost during the weekend. It's not good, but at least those facilities are there for students. You come to school, you're stressed, but then you have a way of unpacking. You go to the gym for those who want to go to the gym. I think it's lovely, and I'm really enjoying it. I have a community there. First, the MasterCard Foundation scholars who are there, then the iHouse community in general. We always have events week in, week out, which is really good.
Yeah, that's a great point, Daniel, where here on campus, the International House is a large residential complex that's open to a lot of international students. Daniel's in it, and were you here when you were studying abroad in Berkeley in iHouse?
No, I've always lived in the co-ops.
The co-ops, that's a little bit about housing. The Berkeley Student Cooperative is a more affordable way for a lot of students to be able to live near the campus in exchange for reduced rates in housing. You can either live in an apartment or you can live in a house with a lot of other people. You exchange some volunteer time, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, so the way the co-ops work is like, so overall I think there's 17 different houses and then 2 different apartment kind of complex versions of it. And there's themed houses, so if you want to be in like all POC houses, there's that. If you want to be in all like queer themed houses, there's all non-male houses and things like that. But yeah, it's like really, really subsidized rent, but you have to do like 5 hours of work shift a week. And work shift is basically just chores. So it's kind of like, I would hope that you do that in your own house anyway. But you know, just like cooking, cleaning, just food delivery, things like that. But honestly, like if you are someone who's worried about like finances here, which I feel like is a burden for everyone, like I really would not have been able to live here without the BSC. And I like, if you're someone who likes being around people and is like, that doesn't bother you too much, it's really perfect. You get an instant community. Like my first year I was living in a house with 120 people and now I'm in one with 50. But like when you're living with 70 people, you're like bound to find people that you kind of will be good friends with and that you vibe with. So they're really great. I feel like they're a really good option. They're reasonably easy to get into. You just have to be like a little bit organized. But yeah, if you're struggling financially, I feel like that's like the best option.
Very big piece of advice: plan accordingly ahead of time because it's a popular option, right? You can only imagine. So this next question, this is more for me and Daniela. As like Latinx students, how have we been able to find a community and what we've been wanting to report on, like topical wise? Do you want me to go first or do you want to go? Yeah, I'll go first. Okay. So, like I said, I was already a student here at Cal. So finding a community wasn't too odd for me, but finding a graduate community and finding other students of color that I could really like connect with is very similar to what Marquis said is with like boot camp, just finding a ton of people and like walking in and being all like, oh, we're having like restorative justice sessions and talking about like institutional racism and talking about like how as a cohort we should like work to not only like work to be more inclusive, but also like how we're going to apply that to our stories. And I felt like that was a really great opportunity to like bond with everyone, regardless of like race. And as like a Latino student, the food isn't that great here. I'm completely like being transparent. I'm from Southern California, so the closer you are to Mexico, the better the food, in my opinion. But it was really like nice to be able to still go out into different parts of like Richmond where I report and hear Spanish music being played outside restaurants, or going to Oakland and where my partner and I live, and being able to just find like a nice little community event. I'm not necessarily the type of person to go out and like, oh yay, they're having like a community event at a community center. That's not really me. It's more kind of just like being in a nice atmosphere that I feel kind of connected to. Daniela, do you have any comments to add on?
Yeah, I put headphones on, so I hope that's better. But anyways, in terms of community, I think full disclosure, this is the first time I ever live on my own, so that was interesting. But finding community within my graduate cohort has really helped to navigate that. But yeah, I feel like despite everything that you hear, I live in Oakland, but despite everything that you hear in like media, I honestly really like it here. I didn't think I was, but I really do. I think the people are great. Yeah, like Andres said that food isn't that great, but I think that there's a rich food culture here too. Like I think that we just like we're a little biased because we're from SoCal, but there's definitely good food here. And yeah, like I don't really have much to add. I think I just echo what everyone's been saying.
Awesome, amazing. So this next question, and then we'll open it up for anyone in our massive audience right in front of us. If you have any questions, feel free to start thinking about them now, or in the Zoom session, feel free to also post your questions. So this question is also for everyone. Maybe we'll have about 2-3 respondents, just depending on who's passionate. In the application, there is a section that talks about writing about your personal history, and it dives deep into asking about what challenges you've overcome, who you are, what's your background. For anyone who might feel comfortable, what was your personal history statement kind of like? What did you talk about? What do you feel? And before we even this, I'm going to preface it. The application to Cal, you have several elements. You have the personal history statement, which is more of a reflective personal piece. You have your statement of purpose, which is more on the academic, professional side, what you intend to do as like a journalist, at least in this case. There's an interview portion, there's work samples. You have to provide at least 2 work samples. One has to be written, but you can provide up to 3, and you have to provide 2 recommenders. Also, a third is optional. And if I'm not forgetting, for international students, you do have to make sure that if you're coming from a country that doesn't speak English, that you pass that. So anyways, beyond that preface, what to the panel, what do you feel like, and sorry, I have to backtrack one more second. The whole application process is holistic, so not one part is going to outweigh everything more than the other. The application committee is really going to take that time to look at all parts of you rather than just being a piece of paper. And with someone with like grades on it, they want to see, all right, what has this person overcome, how they've been able to overcome it, how they've been able to overachieve it. And I think speaking at least for my community, and maybe it might be echoed by some other people, like there's a lot of challenges that we face in being able to like get to a professional space like this. So if anyone wants to talk about like what their application process was like, what they might have written in like their personal history statement, feel free to go ahead and tag on. Marquise?
Yeah, I'll start. And so I think the one thing that Andrea said that was really important is the holistic thing. I really took heart to that because so in my personal history statement, I'm the first one in my immediate family to, go to college and complete college. And I started my college journey out of high school in 2015, getting my AA degree, then going to go get my BA, and then now I'm trying to get my master's. So I'm the first one in the first one in my family to do so of that extent. And so I really highlighted that in my personal history statement. And and I'm an open book when it comes to that. Like my brother, he had to stop. He didn't go to college after high school. My mom, she tried to go to community college, but she ended up having my brother. And so he had to pick and choose, like, I have this priority. Do I have to pay bills? I have to do this, or do I go to school? It was like very black and white for her. And so for me to highlight that and show them that like I'm the first one in my family to do so, I decided to like really take that to heart and use my words to show that.
Thank you. Yeah. Anyone else would like to add on?
I can go.
Go ahead.
I think the application process was definitely lengthy because you did have to kind of build all of these pieces to present yourself to the school in like a certain kind of way, but it was quite interesting doing that and like recounting like how you basically got where you are and what parts of your life have kind of led you here. And you had to make like a little short video as well, just to kind of sum up like, this is who I am and this is what I do. And so that was really interesting to do. It definitely took like months to try and like get things together. But I think in my personal history statement, I wrote a lot about like I'm from a really, really white part of the UK. And so it's just me and my mum and my dad. And like we have no other family in that part of the UK. And I think that as an experience, I also don't have siblings. So it was kind of just like me as this mixed race kid in this like tiny village in the middle of the countryside with all white people. And I think from a young age, that always like very much shaped my perspective on the world, having to be like faced with a lot of microaggressions for like my whole childhood and just like putting up with it. And then still like struggling to find more diverse spaces. Like even the university I went to after like outside of Cornwall was still very white and stuff. So I think I wrote about a lot. I wrote a lot about how that experience like shaped, as I said, like my kind of critical thinking of like very early on you get proved that the world isn't fair and that your identity impacts how people see you. And so that definitely was like a leading cause to becoming a journalist and kind of switched on that part of my brain. So I was talking a lot about that. But yeah, as I said, the application is difficult, but I think overall was like a really cool reflective time to get together your personal like narrative and then how all of that relates to your work and the progress that you've made and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Like definitely the application process in the personal history statement, there's a vulnerability to it, and there's really like you're doing it's very interesting when you start doing like a reflective of your life, and you're like, what does my life mean? And trying to put that succinctly to people that are it's intimidating. So it's okay if it's a process that's very unfamiliar. We can have one more person speak. You want to speak?
Thank you. I also want to add, when Edith said it was a reflective period, it's true. For me, it was a reflective. I remember writing, stop, then come and write again, because you have to think. Not that it was difficult, it wasn't difficult, but it's just a reflection. You're reflecting your life, maybe from high school to college, when you got the job and where you've been and the hindrances that you've had in life. And there was also another aspect of language, because in my country, the perception people have about Cameroon is that it's French speaking, whereas it's not. It's French speaking and English speaking. So we have English and French as two official languages. But I think with the previous administrator, it wasn't Nelly, there was somebody in 2022, yeah. We had this back and forth, and I succeeded in the argument because there's a clause in the website, the J School, that says if you're coming from a country that has English as its official language. So that's what I quoted. And I said I'd studied in Anglophone university, because in Cameroon we have the English system of education and the French system of education. But the French system of education dominates because you have 8 regions out of 10. So the 2 English regions are English, while the rest of the rest are French speaking. So the impression people have is that Cameroon is a French speaking country, whereas it's not. So those are the things that I used in my application process. It was a hindrance, but the J School understood. And then also, well, this is for anybody who wants to apply. You just have to be genuine. In this personal history statement, you need to be true to who you are, and you're going to put up a good piece.
Thank you. So we're going to move on to questions from our audience. So we had one from Zoom that asked, or that said, we've talked a lot about the positive, but obviously there's nothing that is perfect. The only thing that's perfect is Beyonce. And I'm not a beehive, but I love Renaissance the album so much. Anyways, challenges and some adversities that you may have faced, whether that's socially or academically. People speak as well. Just and then not to cut anyone off because I love these comments and learning, but just we can get some more questions in there. Okay. So anyone want to speak first?
I feel like that was the biggest challenge I had to overcome, and I'm still dealing with that in my reporting, in my writing, in my video editing, in my share, thinking like, all right, well, like, in comparison to, right? We all compare things, even if we subconsciously don't try, or subconsciously do or don't. Kind of, and still am trying to get over, like everybody is coming from different walks of life. Everybody, is coming from, may not even be coming from a journalism background. So just trying to have that like this mindset of like, okay, like, I'm here with these same people trying to learn and grow and master this craft of journalism. And so, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I relate to that. I wrote anything before coming to J School, so imposter syndrome is definitely something I face. Anyone else want to add on?
I think a couple of challenges. I think the imposter syndrome thing is like true just across the board. Like I just feel like everyone who I've spoken to has got the same thing. I've definitely had the same thing. I think a challenge for me, I think it's just the classic like mixed race experience thing of feeling like it's hard to know what kind of spaces you can fit into. Like I don't want to feel like I'm taking up space in places where I shouldn't be, or like you feel too white for some things and too black for other things. So I think that's still a thing that I encounter here, but just in general in the world, I think it's just the across the board experience of being mixed race. And then I think like reporting on a new place. So as I said, I'm covering Richmond, and so this is a part of the Bay that I haven't really spent much time in before. And so I think coming up with like how to approach a community that's not your own, and like how to really well represent it and get to know it and like show those people in the most kind of, I don't know, best representative way, where you're not encroaching your own like opinion or your own like I don't know. I think that's just a big learning curve as well of like, how do I enter this community? As I said, I'm covering housing and homelessness, so it's like a constant thing that's on my mind of like, how do I represent this community? How do I report on this place? And how do I enter this space as someone who's not part of this community but wants to like learn and cover it well? I think is quite a big challenge overall.
I mean, I agree. Like, even though Richmond and we're both covering Richmond together, I cover transportation, and even though a lot of the population of Richmond is Hispanic and Latinx, there's still some barriers where you're like, I don't know, I have to take that careful approach. So definitely relatable. Question from the audience. Maybe I saw a hand over here. No, no. Okay. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering because we have such a big multimedia contingent here, and I hadn't really thought about that before as like an option to study multiple different mediums. I was wondering how you guys chose that based on maybe your past experience and like what areas are building off of your previous experience and are there any new areas you may have come to?
How much time do we have? So the question, since there's a lot of multimedia representation here, and how did we end up finding that to be a path that we wanted to follow, and what our previous experiences have led us to do? Is that accurate? Yeah, just want to repeat it for the Zoom audience. At least I can speak for myself. Having not done any reporting, but having done my thesis with a lot of like statistics and information and like graphics and stuff, I was really drawn to the ability of multimedia to be able to tell those stories in an engaging way. For example, I like Vox on YouTube. It's I like that news site in the way that they present their data. Sometimes, you know, you can have different opinions on like what they're covering, but the way that it's being made more accessible is something that I really wanted to do for my communities. Anyone want to add?
Yeah, so my previous job, I did TV and did some editing. It was just amateur editing, not comprehensive editing. So when I came here, I told myself I would take the multimedia track this semester to learn how to edit conventional videos, social media videos, and in the spring semester, I fall back to narrative writing. But now I'm just thinking like, should I continue with this multimedia thing? You know, because it's getting exciting. There are many things to learn, especially when you're using Adobe Premiere Pro. It's not just the thing where you just import brushes and you start editing. You need to organize yourself. There's certain things that you need to do. So I'm still thinking about that, but that's what brought me to multimedia this semester. But next semester, I might move to narrative, which is what I've always wanted to do.
Yeah, it all depends on today. After our panel today, we're all going to our multimedia class. And we just got our grades back for our first project. Daniela, did you want to add about why you chose multimedia, considering your background?
I just wanted to do something more with video. I feel like when you get a good understanding of working with video, you also work with audio. And I mean, the essence of, or what video is rooted in is also your writing. So I felt like with multimedia, my approach was like, I'm going to get a little bit of everything, especially with how the landscape of journalism looks like right now. I feel like you have to know a little bit of everything, have enough in your toolkit to be able to pivot in different mediums. And that's going to make you more attractive to potential jobs. So that was my approach and why I chose multimedia.
Higher ability, right? That's why I'm doing data journalism. They need more data journalists. Any more questions from the chat? Oh, over here. Here, let me pass you the mic if you're comfortable with it.
I think my question is about the application process. You said something about the work samples, 2 work samples. So 2 questions. First is, the work samples has to be journalistic, or also does it have to be connected to what you're choosing? For example, if you're like going a photojournalist, does it have to be a photo work, or if you have to be narrative? does it have to be writing?
Yeah, great point. I'll throw it to our panelists in a second so they can talk about their work samples. And then time check, we have like less than 8 minutes just so we can answer more questions. So for your work samples, the only one you really want to be particular about is the documentary track because the documentary track is very intensive from day one. It's the Marines, it's boot camp. You're really like diving into like a lot of video production, editing, etc. So they're gonna want to see at least besides that one written work sample, they're gonna want to see video production and they're gonna want to see your abilities in it. For the others, narrative, audio, multimedia, photography, a lot of it can still be like related to it, but they're just trying to see in your application process, in your work samples, your ability to write, your ability to produce some type of media that evokes like a journalistic essence. My work samples, for example, haha, I'm so funny. I used my honors thesis and I used a podcast that I had made, not necessarily for journalism, but it was for one of my classes. And I just added it in there because I was like, there's journalist elements to it. Does anyone else want to add like real quick about their work samples?
Yes, you don't have to have, if you haven't done any reporting before, that's like completely fine. Yeah, just to continue what you're saying, I used one of my favorite like stories that I did for the Daily California, but that was literally like an arts and culture, like I was covering an event, but I just kind of like the way that I wrote this particular one. And then I think my other one was a paper that I did for a geography class when I was studying here. And I did it about the co-ops and about the co-ops as like a good like affordable housing model. So that wasn't a journalism kind of project, but I think if you can find any kind of writing that uses similar skills, kind of critical thinking, good presentation of like stories, data, anything like that, it really doesn't matter. But I think keeping within the lines of like what you think good journalism is and stories and writing or anything you've done, because it can be creative as well, I think that kind of reflects the same types of skills, I think, is what I recommend.
Yeah, thank you. And then just to be respectful of time, Daniela, I saw that your hand was up. Did you want to quickly add?
Yeah, just very quickly. I mean, I don't know what if this is good advice or not, but I would maybe even suggest like creating something of your own, like maybe doing an explainer video for something and then writing the script for that. That could really, I think, showcase some of the work that you could produce. So.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, like they're all saying, we really want to. Yes, journalism experience can be very helpful, but it's not exclusionary. You don't necessarily need to have it in order to attend this school. Any more questions? Our beautiful audience, go ahead. If you have, are there any questions on Zoom? No. Okay, so go ahead. If you want to use the microphone, or if you feel comfortable. If you don't, that's fine.
This was a question for, oh, maybe I should, so Daniela can hear. This was a question for Daniela. I asked this in the last panel. They said I should find someone called Daniela who was reporting. So I'm guessing this is you, but I'm really curious about, because you have this bilingual background and you've been reporting in a bilingual community, how that's sort of factored into your reporting. And even though the Berkeley journalism master's is primarily in English, have you been able to incorporate any Spanish into your writing? Is that a direction you want to go in the future? Are you interested in reporting in both languages? Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, there's another Daniela. She goes by Danny, so I don't know. We're being confused, but yeah, I mean that speaks to my experience. Sorry for the echo. But to answer your question, I'm recovering business and economy, and last week I went to an event that an organization in Oakland was hosting for Latina entrepreneurs. And I did a lot of my interviewing in Spanish. Everything was being translated for English. But as for if you get to work with like the Spanish language, I think you have to be intentional about doing that. I've made it a point in my J200 class, like I want to go out on the street and like interview people in Spanish about who they're voting for the upcoming election. So you kind of have to put that foot forward for the type of reporting that you want to do. But yeah, I think that the space allows for it. You just kind of have to put it out there.
Just to add, there's a lady who graduated from the program, Irene Benedicto. She's now an editor for a Spanish newspaper. It's in Spain, so it's possible you can do the J school in English and you practice in Spanish. It all depends, like Daniela said, how intentional you are.
Yeah, so just to be respectful of time, I would love to, if there's any more questions, feel free to email. The director of admissions will put our emails into the chat. But just a quick one off from all our panelists. I want to hear, what is one tip that you have that when you remember going through the application cycle that you would like to give to someone? This tip could either be about something that they may already know, or maybe a difficulty or a challenge that they might encounter that they might not expect. So if we want to start off with Daniela first.
We are our greatest critics. Sorry, we're our greatest critics, and I think that if you're here at this point, it's for a reason. So just kind of know that you are capable of getting through that application process, and that if you're in this space, it's for a reason. So just really convey that in your video, in your essay. Why do you want to be a journalist? And I think that's the most important part, but be authentic.
Yeah, thank you. And then we'll go down the line right here, Marquise.
Reach out. That's the one thing I did, like before applying, while applying, I was emailing, even on social media, DMing like old like alumni, getting their what's the word I'm looking for? Getting their perspective on the program. So email, reach out, because like we're panelists and we're gonna, obviously speak to, how we're, navigating through, but alumni, and even reach out to the professors too. Like, you never know who's going to respond. So.
Yeah, like Daniela said, you just have to be genuine in your application. Don't be afraid to tell your story, especially in your personal history statement. You might think this story might not be interesting, or this is not what they're looking for, but if you tell your story, you likely stand out. Like, this is a unique story that we've seen. We haven't seen this from other applicants. So just be genuine in what you're saying, and also just ask around. Like when I was applying, I had to contact a lot of people, and they even referred me to persons who were here, those that had left, and that's how I learned and progressed through the application.
I would say, as I said before, because you're trying to kind of put all these pieces together to craft the narrative of who you are and how you become, like how you are becoming a journalist or why you want to do that. And I think a big help is family to kind of take a look, like, does this essay that I've written or does this video reflect who I am? Like, you're someone who knows me, but particularly parents. And I think that was a good way for people to be like, yeah, but you missed out this kind of aspect of your life. They did this, or like, I feel like that's a good way, because you can get so like bogged down in like rereading and being like, oh my god, I don't know what any of this means anymore. But it's really good just to kind of reground like your own like narrative of your life. And the video is really like, I was really daunted by that, but you can get creative, it can be fun. Like, it doesn't have to be the best, most well edited video, but I think that's a nice opportunity to kind of just show a bit of personality, because you've already talked about your story in the other two essays, you talked about your experience, and so this is just like a little cherry on top of like who you are. So use that, use that wisely.
And now comes the most difficult part, because everyone already said what I was going to say. I guess my piece of advice is, you're going to be writing and the time is going to sneak up on you, and as you work on the project. So highly recommend that write something out today, write something out tomorrow, just so you can start getting the ball rolling. And then the next time that you visit whatever you're working on, you're like, you can critique but not criticize yourself. I think that's the best way to put it. And if you're working on other applications for other schools, take what you wrote from another school and be like, I really like the way that I phrased it and talked about it, and don't be afraid to like just rewrite everything that you already did, because sometimes you as you're thinking and as you're getting the ball rolling, it really does help out. And yeah, so well, go ahead, Marquise.
Reach out to your recommendation letter as soon as possible.
Yeah. So that was going to be my next point is reminder to everyone, the application deadline for the first round, and that is priority for funding, is on December 16th at 8:59 Pacific time. So 9 o'clock? No, that's moving on to the next round. And please, we highly recommend to everyone, ask your recommenders to turn in your application, their letters by December 1st. Lie to them. Even though, yes, they have up until December 16th, at least you have some time in case anything goes wrong. And I highly recommend, if you're able to, turn in your application early. Yes.
Sorry, do you have to submit your application?
Everything has to be turned in all together, including the recommenders, have to be done by December 16th.
The recommenders, can they get the link before you complete the application?
Yes. So the recommenders will get the link and they'll be able to write it out. And even recommenders to make sure that they've also finished, and vice versa. If you still haven't finished your application and they turn it in, that's also fine.
I think the system is good in this way that when the recommender does the recommendation, they inform you that.
All right. So, and with that, thank you to all our panelists. I appreciate your participation. We'll be to everyone that's watching the video or online, come to our Friday Zoom chats. And this Friday will be from 10 to 11. But you'll have me and Richie and a few other special guests that might pop in here and then to just talk about literally if you have questions about formatting or like what way do I orient the video for my interview, we'll be there to help you out and answer for us all. But yeah, so we're resources. Feel free to email jpeers_admissions@berkeley.edu or the journalism_admissions@berkeley.edu if you want to reach out to like a student or if you want, because we have nothing to hide. So and we just really want to make this place more diverse. So go Bears.
Just really quick, Andres has my email if anyone wants to ask any questions. I'm welcome and free to do that.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm just